Hello there in Radio Land.
Check, check, check.
Here I am, patiently waiting. This is Corey, and this is the Anthem podcast.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's Rob. Welcome to episode 395 of the Anthem podcast, coming to you from all over LA. But of course, Corey is gentrifying LA one neighborhood at a time. Thank you for joining us.
I think this is the first time you didn't trip over it a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Really start. You can find us on your podcatcher of choice, but the easiest way, anchor.fm/Oh the Anthem.
Yeah, I didn't trip over it because pressure makes me work well, and then I realized I didn't have a glass, so I had to jump up, get the glass, sit down, 3, 2, on. So, under pressure.
Oh, please stop right now.
If anything at YouTube thinks that is the song, we're going to have problems.
At the very least, make sure you include the ting. I've heard from sources of authority that the ting is what makes it not violating the copyright.
The ting?
Yeah, you ever heard
ting 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 ting.
No, you never heard Vanilla Ice talk about it?
Yeah. The Vanilla,
it's just like
do 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 tink.
Yeah, he's like theirs goes do 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 do, and mine goes do 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 tink. That ting makes it different. It's not the same thing anymore. It's totally different.
Yes. Well, we got a lot to get to in a little bit of time. So, first of all, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Some things have appeared, some things have disappeared, and some things have yet to appear. My conscience, me being a good person, still has not appeared. Never will, likely. Always not going to be gone.
To some, you would say.
Yeah, sure. Baby Casey also has not appeared. So now we have a waiting game where, and this is my fervent belief that with me being unavailable on Saturday, that is the day that Rachel will go into labor.
It's going to happen?
Yeah, 100%. On top of that...
Am I frozen on your side, by the way?
Oh, yeah, you are. Oh, wait, no, there you go.
Oh, there we go.
Back. Yeah, Corey has the worst internet in the Western Hemisphere and chooses to use that to, stream live a podcast. So, if you notice he's not moving, I can still hear him. You can still hear him, but his face is frozen. Yeah, I'm getting reds and yellows on your feed there, Corey. So.
Well, sorry.
Oh, wait, there you go. Now you're moving again.
Okay, good.
So, two things. One, I really hope that she's born on Friday, because Friday is November the 5th, and it would give me another reason to celebrate that day. But I have the feeling that whether or not she goes into labor on the 5th, the baby will not come until the 6th, just because that's just how life is. I don't know. That's how my life is.
That's how it goes?
Yep.
Would you get her a little Guy Fawkes mask if she was born
100%. I'm picturing now a tattoo of baby Casey with a Guy Fawkes mask on my shoulder. How you feel about that? I feel like that'd be money. With a Bible verse, train them up in the way they should go, and when they are old, they will not turn from it. Oh God, it's just like the creative juices are flowing.
I mean, it's not a bad tattoo, but at the same time, I think it's like a joke if you have to explain it too much. Like, no, that's my friend's infant baby.
It would complicate the Tinder dating where they're like, what's up with the baby on your shoulder? Not mine. Not my nephew either. My friend had
It's
a baby.
just a friend. I'm friends with the baby. And I think so highly of her that I tattooed her on my body.
Also, to that point, when I make plans for you, the week after of that Casey's born, I want you to keep in mind you've known me for 19 years. You've only known that fucking baby for a couple of days, all right? So you make smart decisions. But the other elephant in the room, the thing that was here and is
it
gone.
Just makes me think like I'm gonna get like a 4 a.m. phone call. It's like, meet me at the LA River or else we're not friends anymore.
Yes.
I'm just like, whoa, why do we have to do it right now? And then you're just like, you'll fucking wake up at 4 a.m. for that baby? You won't wake up at 4 a.m. for me?
First of all, wake up at 4 a.m. I'm already still up at 4 a.m. I don't go to sleep at Second of all,
I'd still probably be up too. That's the problem.
The only text you're gonna give me at 4 o'clock in the morning is Sabaro's ? That's it. We're gonna have to drive to Las Vegas, so it's gonna have to be. Actually, no,
It's gonna take a while.
There's probably some in LA, right? I feel like
there is Sabaros in LA, but they are not. They're mostly like at malls and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I think like most Sabaros are nowadays.
I have a really great New York style pizza place at the end of the block. So when I'm like Sabaros or the place that's open late every day and gives me a piece of pizza the size of my head for $5. Anyway, yeah. Elephant in the room, the thing that was here and is gone.
Oh, that's right. This is what we were getting to this whole time.
Yeah, this is the thing. You got to build it up. Because otherwise it's just me and my exposed double chins. So it's not that big a news. But I didn't participate last year, but I have in years past participated in No Shave November. I am once again. I'm going to send Corey a link that he can put in the show notes to the page because I am actually raising money doing this as well. I'm going to be donating. I'm matching donations up to my goal. We'll see how it goes after that. But my goal is essentially $90, but really $100. It's $3 a day for the entire month of November. And I am raising money for colorectal cancer research. I don't know if we've talked about it before, but I lost my grandfather when I was 3 to colorectal cancer. And because he, like many men, did not decide to get a colonoscopy until later in life, and they found it pretty advanced when he got one. So my dad has been very serious about getting them. By the way, my dad is going to be 89 next year. Right?
Yeah.
37 to no. He will be 84. Oh, so 85. He'll be 85 next year.
Either way, I think he should run for president.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, he's got all the requisites. He falls asleep in public places. He stumbles over his words. He can't walk straight. So he fits. But so my dad
hangs out on Joe Manchin's houseboat.
Probably would do that too. No, because Joe Manchin's a dirty liberal socialist, so he can't do that. But my dad, to the point, has been getting colonoscopy screening since he was 35 years old, which he's been having a doctor up in his business more years than he didn't have a doctor up in his business every year. So it's very important. Luckily, he's been good. No other signs in my family at all, so I get pushed back to the 40 deadline, which means 2 more years before I have to endure that. Not that the procedure's so bad. It's the prep. It's the drink that you have to drink the night before, and then the 9 hours you spend in the bathroom without sleep, and then you go in and get probed by a doctor. So that sucks.
Yeah.
But in any event...
And then you can't even eat fried chicken afterwards.
In any event, raising money for colorectal cancer research so that hopefully... Maxon, Casey don't have to go through the same thing I did, and that's not getting to know their grandfather because they're lost too early. So click on the link below. If you have a buck, give a buck. Trying to raise again $90 in the next 30 days, so $3 a day. And I'm going to match donations all the way up to $100 of my own. So thank you.
Well, that is a very lovely thing.
Yeah,
so
I think we've done good today.
If we stopped right there, we did. But unfortunately, we go on.
I was giving you an out to just say, hey, this actually is true this time. So
well, To be fair, there is dinner waiting for me. So I mean, like, we want to just wrap in.
Well, let's get on right through this list. So, turning from one happy medical story to another, COVID still out in the United States, and a happy story, of course, because 2 weeks we put a dent in the curve, and things have been under control, but sad since then. Over 600 people lost in the United States. I'm sorry, 700. 700 people lost in the United States. So
700,000.
Oh, I'm sorry, what?
700,000.
You said 700,000 people have died from COVID in the United States.
Yeah,
so,
like more people than who live in Baltimore.
Especially now.
Yeah.
Now, wait, does that include the bodies of the people who used to be alive in Baltimore and their bodies are still there, rotting away in some row house somewhere?
I mean, I don't know if they fill out the census. So, like, if somebody's like, no, my son just been gone for 18 years.
Yeah, I mean, like, they might.
But I still include him on the census because
he's out there somewhere.
I mean, he has a home.
So
he's gonna come back one day.
Just like every dad with a pack of cigarettes.
Too dark?
No, just like every dad with a pack of cigarettes. But yes, 725,000 people have died in the United States. And you would think 725,000 deaths from a preventable disease in a single year, that has to be some sort of medical emergency. And you'd be wrong. Nobody seems to give a fuck. And,
well, hey, we're all vaccinated, so.
Yeah, well, it's not how it works. It's not how it works.
And by we're all, I mean, 70% of us to some degree, and 80% have at least a first shot in them at this point. So
yeah, and I think that number includes a lot of people who got the first one and then won't get the second one because reasons. But I'm hoping it's a small number. But in any event, 1,100 people a day still dying, and you're like, what? That can't be right. 7,749 people in the last 7 days from this morning when I checked the numbers. So by my calculations, that is 1,107 people every single day for the last 7 days.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. The worst part about this whole thing is I feel like I'm saying the same things over and over again, and I don't know what to do with that information. Like I feel like I'm not changing anybody's mind per se. Like I don't think there's some like COVID hesitant person who's listening to me right now and then is going to hear what I say and then go get the vaccine and then everything will be over.
100% not. Yeah, no.
And the worst part is too, like, this virus keeps mutating, the Delta variant being the most obvious version of this that has happened since COVID started being a thing. And, somewhere in, he said the thing like Tongo had the first, Tongo had his first case.
Guess who is the patient in that case? Do you think it's a Tongolese?
Some American tourist.
I didn't see what the nationality was, but definitely a tourist came and brought it, and they're positive and there. But as far as I know, no Tongolese from the island who are on the island have gotten sick yet. So this will be our way of, it's been a few weeks, but some people like to celebrate Columbus Day a little later than others. So, of course, they are taking a disease to an uncontacted community to make sure that we can kill off the rest of them because, Chris Columbus didn't do good enough job.
But I'm saying one person from Tonga gets it, and then all of a sudden it creates the new variants, which spreads across the globe and is immune to the vaccines and everything like that. And it's March 2020 all over again.
Yep.
And, it's just because we need to make a more concerted effort to not only vaccinate as many people as we can here, but all over the world, wherever COVID may be, which is everywhere, like literally everywhere. I just feel like anybody who is at this point, like not getting it is sort of feeling like if they want to get it, I wonder if they're feeling like embarrassed about it.
Yeah.
Like I've put so much into it now. Like I've committed to the bit so hard. Like it'd be like if all of a sudden, like this episode, you just saw me wearing like a Steelers shirt, right? And you're just like, well, what are you doing? I'd be like, well, I've been secretly watching them for a while, and I didn't know how to do it, so I figured I'd just do it like I just wear the T-shirt one day, and you could catch me, and then I could be like, oh, you found out. Well, now that you know I'm a Steelers, and like go into the whole thing like that. I feel like there's a lot of people maybe who want to get it, but feel like if somebody found out that they got it, that they'd be judged or,
Yeah.
like
weirdly judged in their community, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, like they probably have a lot of other anti-vaccine people in their life, and maybe they're worried that they're going to be, removed from the group, if you will, because they decided to do this. And I feel like those are the most gettable people by basically saying, like, I don't care per se if you get the vaccine and you don't tell people about it. I mean, like,
we're past the posting the card on social media. You don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah, and I mean, like, if somebody gives you shit about it at like a nightclub or something like that, you could just be like, hey, real quick, check my phone. Here's my card. It's like, don't tell my buddy.
Does it? No, you carry.
Like,
you carry
check my card when I walked in.
You carry around a Vax card photo that's just like natural immunities in the blood of Jesus Christ, and then so you pull that up and you show the guy, and then quickly like scroll to the next picture, like, no, that's my real one. No, don't
you just like open up the wallet a little bit and show the real.
Don't say anything. Here's the real one though. Yeah.
Or just tell everyone you got a really compelling fake, and then don't say where you got it. Like whatever you got to do to like help. Like, if I had an emergency medical situation that was embarrassing, I would probably lie to most people about it.
Yeah.
Like I would say like, oh, I had a kidney stone or something like that. Something that put me in the hospital for a day or two, and now I'm recovering. Everything's fine.
Not an out of control STD that has ruined your body.
Yeah, not something super embarrassing. Like that would probably only save for the people who needed to know. Perhaps if somebody is listening to me and they want to get the vaccine, but they feel like they can't, just do it. You'll be fine. Like it literally, it's, I don't know. Some people you're just never going to convince though.
See, I think though you're missing half the argument, because yes, people should get vaccinated and that's helpful, and it gets, the herd immunity up, and the people who can't get vaccinated gives them some protection. But we can look at the way that a Tongaite might get COVID from a tourist who comes in and say, oh, that can be where a variant comes from. But it can also come from vaccinated people, because when you're vaccinated and you get COVID, you are still contagious and the virus is still in your body. So that means that it can still replicate. There can be irregularities that cause a variant to pop up, and you spread that variant to someone else. So not only is it, let's get everybody vaccinated, because that's important, but also maybe not go out to a nightclub like people I saw on Instagram stories that's shoulder to shoulder and take a video of a dude who made out with 4 different women in a 10-minute period, which is funny, but also that's what we call a super spreader event. And I get that everybody's vaccinated who's there, so it's like, oh, nobody's going to get really sick. Yeah, but people who can't get the vaccine, like kids under 5 still, and theoretically kids between 12 and 5, not right now, but soon. Old people who have they're immunocompromised. Young people who are immunocompromised. People with cancer, people with AIDS, people who are taking immunosuppression therapy cannot get vaccinated. And you going out and making out with 4 women in a 10-minute period just raises the chance that one of you has the virus, and that you're going to give it to the other, and that there's going to be a variant, and then everyone who's vaccinated doesn't matter because the variant goes around the vaccine, or also that somebody's going to take it home to their grandmother or to their kids or to their little brother or to the new baby that's about to be welcomed into the world. And it's unfortunate, but.
Well, I mean, beyond that, I mean, like, I think that people don't think about, like, I was thinking about it more like going out onto the street. Like, if you go outside, right? there's a deadly epidemic of car crashes that are happening where cars hit civilians, right? Hit pedestrians. Uh, you know, most of them are happening in the middle of the street where a pedestrian is just in the middle of the street and a car hits them. There's less of a chance that it's going to happen on the sidewalk. There's less of a chance that it's going to happen on the other side of a median, right? And there's lesser of a chance if you don't leave your house at all. Like if you just like the chances of getting run down by a car inside your own house are relatively slim, you know?
We don't follow the same YouTube channels, unfortunately.
Not that it can't happen, but you know, it's not a likelihood that you should like
my favorite set of fail army.
Not a probability that you should weigh high in your averages. You know what I mean?
Standing in the store getting hit by a car is where I'm at on fail army. That's what it likes to suggest to me. Where you're just like, oh, look at milk's on sale 2 for a bah.
See, but like even so, like today I went out for lunch and I was like saying to myself, I have to be very careful because I'm always trying to be very careful, like when I'm like scooting around downtown and stuff like that. But there were like a dozen different things that were in the way of me being able to ride safely in the bike lane for like the entirety of my trip. And, you know, sometimes I'm sharing a lane with other cars. Sometimes I have to like go around somebody who's parked in the bike lane and now I'm like in the middle of traffic.
Yeah.
You know, like all these things are happening that are making what could be a not perfectly safe, but safer situation into a more dangerous situation than it needs to be. And I think there's a lot of people COVID wise who aren't thinking of it this way. Like, you know, like I'm not at the point where I'm going to a sporting event right now. Like, I just don't feel like, even though like there doesn't seem to be a huge amount of people who are getting sick from going to like sporting events, like outdoor sporting events, it's still like, it just seems a little risky to me. You know, that's like kind of my line right now. Whereas like, you know, if a dozen friends wanted to meet in the park, I'm not even really all that worried about that. So, you know, unless I'm like making out with them, like unless there's some reason that I'm like really in close contact with somebody, you know what I mean? Like,
I mean, we reopened the office and I'm not super stoked about it, but everyone there is vaccinated. So that's, and I can show that they're vaccinated. Everybody had to provide proof. So I'm down with that. We're doing masks all around the office, which is inconvenient, but I get it. A couple of my coworkers have small children, so again, they could get sick and take it home. So it's worthwhile. I get it. But what's disconcerting is the number of people who are going out and like making out with 4 different women and then coming to work on Monday, or going to EDC and just getting fucked up beyond all recognition all weekend. And then like I don't even remember Saturday through this morning. I woke up, I was like, EDC's over? I don't even remember it, man. We got to get to work. And that's worrisome, but I don't have a choice in that. If I did, I'd probably stay home. But I do have a choice in like, we've gone to a couple movies at the movie theater. I'm relatively comfortable with that at this point. Like, the spacing has fallen away, but still, you know, everyone's facing the same direction. And
I also feel like, you know, for people like us, we still wear the mask when we're in the theater. And, you know, sitting with the mask, like, does feel at least a little bit safer than like no mask. So like, well,
also I noticed, you know, we guilt people into wearing theirs. The people who were in the row in front of us, like, saw us still having the mask on and put theirs back on. And I was like, that's fucking right. Yes.
I do like the fact that people here in my building, sometimes they'll be like walking in from outside and I think they don't necessarily think somebody's going to be on the elevator or something like that.
Yeah.
So they're not wearing the mask and they'll see me wearing the mask and then they'll almost always just put a mask on really quick.
Yep.
Which I think is like at least a considerate thing to do. You know, I still am more of the mind that I'd rather have the mask on all the time and then do the dip, like as much as we made fun of people for having like the nose sticking out and stuff like that. You know, I think in a situation where you could go without the mask entirely, I think the just under the nose is a fine, like, reasonable consideration. But like, you know, if I'm scooting, you know, there's times where I'm going to want to put it up a little bit when I'm in a more congested area for whatever reason.
I was going to say, it's actually good for scooting because it's like, I don't get all the pollution from the cars either. It's just filtering it all out. It's great.
But all that said, Jen Psaki tested positive, White House press secretary.
Oh, is that where we're going with this? Okay, yeah.
Oh, well, I'm just saying, bringing it around.
But yeah, and I brought this up in the pre-show call. Like, if this had happened in the Trump White House, oh wait, it did happen in the Trump White House, and it was like basically hide and deny, and then everybody got sick. But in a responsible adult White House, very responsible and very adult, like 70s geriatric, but nonetheless, she found out on Tuesday that she might have been exposed to a family member who tested positive on Tuesday. Immediately left, immediately self-quarantined, notified everybody, and then stayed quarantined until Sunday when she got her positive test results and was like, oh, okay, well, this is happening now. And if I remember correctly, the White House prior to this was holding public events with people who basically said, I'm never getting tested, so don't even try. So we've come a long way.
Yeah.
Biden never got COVID, did he? So it is a concern.
Yeah. I mean, he's had his booster recently, though, too. So
True.
There's that at the least.
Yeah.
Because I remember that because conservatives were making a big deal about how they did it in like a fake Oval Office set or something. And it's just like, yeah, I mean, like, when you have to load a bunch of cameras into the Oval Office, it's like, have you ever seen the behind the scenes of like when they do a presidential address to the nation from the Oval Office?
Yeah.
How they basically have to remove every piece of furniture
Except
that isn't the Resolute desk.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
and they would take that out
it's a
somewhere.
Small little room that looks a lot bigger than it is.
That's why I guess people don't get it. That it's literally an office. Like, it's a big office, but it's an office. It's not huge. So 10 cameras and 10 reporters, and you're like, all right, so everybody's shoulder to shoulder now, which they used to do, but now they don't.
I mean, they would do these things like in the East Room or something like that before, where they need to have a bunch of people in like one space, like that's a bigger room for that sort of thing. But like, I don't know. They have a set now, so I don't know. Do it. I don't care.
And honestly, if I'm the president, which, I wanted to be for a long time, I like the set. Because you can go do your public thing and then immediately not wait for everyone to leave. You're just like, peace, and then head out and go back to your office.
Go back to the office.
Yeah. Because I imagine, like, when you're having, press briefings in the Oval Office, there's a thank you, and then everybody just kind of mills and like, thank you, thanks. I'd like to get back to work now. But now you
have your hand on the binder ready to open up the new thing, but you can't do it until everyone leaves.
Until they leave.
It's classified.
I don't know what
I mean, if it was I've been watching impeachment, so I was gonna say if it was Clinton, he'd just go into that side room.
Oh yeah,
just leave and leave the Oval and go to the side room.
Well, I'm watching.
Also, by the way, for people who are watching impeachment, I love the fact we had talked about how much we love this during OJ, at least in the beginning.
Yeah,
where they were mentioning ancillary characters in the universe,
the Kardashians.
The Kardashians, for instance. In this one, famously, Kavanaugh worked for Ken Starr.
Oh, I forgot.
But he wasn't like one of the head people. He was just like sort of a hanger-on.
They didn't trust him. They didn't trust him, so they put him.
They had two moments of Kavanaugh so far in the series where they said like shut up, Kavanaugh. Like that's like what are you talking about, Kavanaugh? And then he would say something that seemed really embarrassing for a future Supreme Court justice to say out loud. But, there we go.
Well, I was going to say, I'm watching I think it might have been like the Last Man series on Amazon, which I still haven't into. But there is a moment in the first episode where people are standing in the Oval Office, and the girl, one of the characters, the like press secretary or personal attendant, whatever, it's just like, James still wants to talk to you about that Oklahoma thing, and then like every ear perks in the room, and they're like, Oklahoma, what's going on in Oklahoma? And it's like, oh, yeah, that's right. Literally half the stuff we talk about, you can't talk about in front of other people. So yeah, it's just like a huge inconvenience. I don't mind the set. I don't mind that Biden doesn't meet with his press secretary regularly either, because in a way she is literally like insulated from. Which I imagine the previous president was like, hey, Caitlin, this is what I want you to say when you go out there. And then she's stuck with that.
I will say this. I heard her on a podcast not too long ago talking about like working in the White House. And she's just like, obviously it's great. And it's a dream come true. And, I did a little bit before with Obama. But, this is a whole different thing. But it also feels like I'm kind of being like robbed of it a little bit because we're still under all these COVID protocols.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because the White House is so small and people know nobody realizes how small the White House is, they, like there's no way to really meet people. And like we'd still do Zoom meetings where we're all in our office by ourselves. Like, so like it doesn't feel like it's the authentic White House experience, but like, I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, so I think they are taking the procedures really seriously, even at this point. So
what do you call
obviously
the thing before the last one? There's a word for that. Penultimate, yes. Well, this is the penultimate White House, though. So yeah, it's a little different, but it's only gonna get worse, Jen. So enjoy your work from home. You got more time off than I did working from home, so enjoy it.
Moving on to the politics of the week.
Wait, this wasn't politics? Oh God.
Well, I mean, it was it was a slow landing into the more political news of the week. Build Back Better looks like it'll be voted on this week along with the infrastructure bill.
You mean resoundly passed, right? Because this has been the big thing. So
I don't know. I mean, it seems like all the people are slowly meandering on their way towards the finish line, but who knows what will come up at the last minute that will, because every single one of these bills, because they require it's big publicity for a senator or something like that to throw a wrench in the work at the very end, because then everyone talks about that.
Yeah.
You remember when John McCain had the vote no and the big thumbs down and stuff like that? There was a whole 6 hours of CNN that preceded that moment where they were trying to figure out who might possibly kill this bill.
Yeah.
There's 5 people who might possibly be the one who might be Spartacus in this situation. What are they holding out for? What are they threatening McConnell with? What are they blah, blah, blah? And I think some people were saying like, oh, there's an outside shot that it's John McCain, but they kept talking about the 5 people who they knew were in the thick of it.
Yeah.
And then when McCain did it, they were just like, oh my God. Like, it was unexpected. It was a moment. Like, and that's what they live for. And that's what someone like John McCain lives for, because immediately after he does it, he can put out fundraising emails and text messages. And
I'm the Maverick. I don't follow.
Yeah, just a fucking thumbs down in an email, and then donations come flying in, like, so while there seems to be an agreement, while there seems to be just sort of like fiddling away at the edges of what is in and what is out at this point, at the end of the day, I can't discount the fact that Kristen Sinema is going to wake up on Thursday, the day of the vote, hypothetically, and just decide that she's going to throw a fucking wrench in it because she can do it. And then also, by the way, one more thing for people who I've had some people talk to me about Kristen Sinema.
I don't care. Stop talking to me about her.
First of all, I don't know why she does it. Number 2, y'all are fools if you're thinking that you're just going to outflank her from the left and primary her, because she's just going to run as an independent. Like, she's literally going to change her voter registration right before the before the midterms or before the primary election goes up, and then a bunch of bleeding heart Democrats can run a very vicious primary and then face off against Kristen Sinema and whoever the ridiculous Republican is that wins, and nobody can win because everyone's just going to be siphoning off votes for one another. Well, it's the same thing that, like,
Kristen wins as the incumbent. She has the advantage of being the incumbent at that point. So
right, and she narrows the field down because she's got all the people on the left who want to vote her out voting for the left candidate, and all the people on the right voting for the right candidate.
Yep, and
nothing gets solved. So maybe we should stop talking about primarying Kristen Sinema and just like shame doesn't work either. So I don't know. I don't know what you. The only thing that would work is if nobody took her seriously, and everyone has to do that at the moment. So
I get the inkling, Corey, and remind me about your experience with online dating. But have you ever been on a Tinder date with someone? And wait, how many Tinder dates did you go on?
One.
With who?
With the girl who's currently having my child. After a 7-year courtship.
Yeah. So jokes aside, Corey was a little heartbroken over the downfall of a previous relationship, and to get him out of his funk, I said, "Hey, why don't you try Tinder? This will be great. We could be single together. We can go on dates." He went on one date. One date. And then 7 months later, all three of us were moving to LA, and 5 years after that, baby time. So your experience is a little different than mine, Corey. Let's just say, but so there's a thing that can happen.
I've heard tales.
There's a thing that can happen on Tinder when you go on a Tinder date where it's like, listen, you and I both kind of know what this is, but we don't want to be offensive to the other, especially me, not want to be offensive to you. So we're going to play this little dance where we got to like, oh, do you want some water? Yeah. Let's watch a movie. Okay. Like, man, we're just going to dance around a little bit. I feel like that's where we are with this. That in the end, everyone knows what's going to happen. And unfortunately for all of us, it's the American people who are about to get fucked, not any of the parties. But generally speaking, I think Manchin knows how he's going to vote, and he's just milking it to get a little more attention. Like often, some Tinder people may do that where they're like, oh, it's been 4 weeks since I've had somebody in my apartment, so I really want to get a lot of like, the love and attention, even though it's not real.
So I'm put a little thirst trap, and then
100%. And I'm totally going to go through with this, but I also want you to feel like I'm not, so that you work hard for it. And I feel like beloved, even though it's a fake beloved. And Manchin's doing that. Cinema's doing that. I don't think that there's any chance that Joe Manchin votes for this, no matter what. I think he knew from the beginning there is nothing in here that helps him and only stuff that hurts him. So he wants to be the girl everybody wants at the ball, and then he's going to go home with a frog. So,
I mean, I guess there's that potential. I think that it would be very dumb of Joe Manchin to do it. It would be incredibly difficult to consider him a serious player on the I mean, like the fact that you're 50-50 Senate, like, like you would have to find some sort of way to go as close as you can to excommunicating him from the party without doing it.
You can't. No, you can't. And that's what he knows that. He knows that he can be a Republican, which protects him in his next election, but he won't get disavowed by the Democrats because we need
but at
him
this
for
point,
other
I don't think he can just change. He can change his party registration to a Republican, but it's not going to do anything to help him.
I don't mean
win
really
again in West Virginia.
I don't mean really.
I mean, like,
because I think he legitimately is a Democrat. He's a Biden Democrat. He's in the center of the road, but he can lean more Republican on this because he knows they won't disavow him, and then he gets to go. It's Obamacare all over again, like Frank Gradeville in the House on Obamacare, just like oh no, I'm gonna vote no, but we've already calculated how many no votes we can, so we're gonna pick the guys who are most at risk, for the election. So I don't know. I feel like none of it really matters. I've said it 1,000 times. We have two wings of one party, not two different parties. They both are looking out for the rich people. They don't care about us. So
I mean honestly, at this point,
I'm rich. I'm rich. I'm one of the ones they're looking out for. But
I think it's foolish to think anyone that we know in our lives even rate as a rich person that they care about.
Oh, okay, that's true too.
I mean, like, to be honest, like, I'm not, there's somebody we know who probably has $10 million in the bank, right?
Wait,
maybe some client for you at work.
Oh, okay.
No.
Those people, yes. I work for people that have that.
Yeah, not necessarily like, like a close friend of yours, but I'm saying somewhere within your extended radius, there's probably somebody who has like $10 million in the bank.
I was about to ask for a phone number so we can take a vacation.
To anyone who thinks about what rich is would say, oh my God, that person's fucking loaded.
Yeah.
Like they're never going to have to worry about another thing for the rest of their life because they have $10 million.
To be fair, Roberto says that about me. So really, it's all a matter of perspective.
But I mean, like, the really funny thing is that that's not what rates as like a really rich person in the like, you have to be, legit up near $1 billion to be taken seriously as like somebody who's like a rich person that would be taxed in a situation. And that's really what bugs the crap out of me because like they're trying to commit to their network that allows for them to be part of this club where they're one of the billionaires by proxy because they're a senator or something like that. Like it would be so much better if there wasn't lobbyists. There wasn't people, like The reason why prescription drugs, which is like one of the most popular things ever polled in America, negotiating for prescription drugs to bring down the cost is about as easy as it gets. It's a meatball over the middle of the plate. But Kristen Sinema gets $80,000, $100,000 a piece from these different pharmaceutical companies. And because she's a swing vote on this whole thing, that comes out of the bill.
Yeah.
Like it saves money. It doesn't even cost money. It saves money, not only for the government, but for the people who are getting the prescription drugs. The only person it hurts is the prescription drug companies, which will gladly give Kristen Sinema $100,000 a month to do their bidding.
Yep.
Like,
bought yourself a Senate seat. Good job.
If you have $10 million, you know what you also don't have? $1,000 a month to waste on Kristen Sinema's vote. Like, you don't have, like, you think like, oh, I have all this money and blah, blah, blah. No, you don't. You like, even at 10 million, that goes away quick if you're doling out $1,000 a month on things, because
it's not just Kristen Sinema. You're donating to 40 other people as well.
Oh yeah, I mean, obviously, like you can't just do one person. And you can't even do one party. You have to do people on both sides to be able to, like, when Trump's in office, you've given money to him while he wasn't, so you could be like, oh, I remember, I was in favor of you. And same thing with Joe Biden. When he gets in office, you're just like, remember, I was the one supporting you the whole way, Joe. Like. That's why
I donated $1 billion to one candidate and $1,000,001 to the other one. You were the $1 one. That was the
this is the overall problem, is that, like, I think most people would say to themselves, the Senate would be better if it was filled with people I know, who I respect and trust. Like, I think any one of our friends in the posse, for the most part, would be great U.S. senators, because they're reasonable people with reasonable thoughts. And
caveat, they could be bought by Viagra, by Pfizer.
But
I'm
saying,
way,
like, if you couldn't be bought,
then
that's part of the problem. Like, you got to take away the lobbying aspect of it. But I'm saying, like, a normal everyday person would be better than Joe Manchin, because Joe Manchin is in a system where he has to think about that. Whereas a normal everyday person, which is what was the original intention of having a House of Representatives, was having normal people being congressmen and senators, like,
half
not
the
just
people there,
the rich guy who could happen to run an election in West Virginia.
Half the people wouldn't even want to be in government if there wasn't the kickbacks. That's the thing. They're in it for all the goodies. So if you took away the goodies, they wouldn't even want to. They wouldn't complain. They wouldn't compete. They would just go home.
Well, that's the reason why nobody wants to run for school board. Like,
it's a lot of shit without getting anything.
The people who do it really want to help the school board.
Yeah.
Like, there's nobody who signs up for the school board being like, oh man, I can't wait to be the Barack Obama of the school board. Like that. I mean, like, maybe in their mind,
bringing hope and change.
I'm going to be so great, I will change everything. But, like, nobody has, like, the ego of it, like they do, like, running for president. That's an ego job. Or running for senator is an ego job.
Well, and speaking of the next generation of lawmakers, you had a point in here about Gen Z being over it. How are they over it?
Excuse me. I thought I had more than a second.
Also, you're frozen.
Yeah, so
I should put you on the screen there.
New polling came out showing that Gen Z, of any group, is basically done with politicians, but they are also more politically active than any other generation at this age in American history, basically. So it's not that Gen Z isn't interested in political issues. They're very interested in political issues, but they are starting to grow away from, I'm a Democrat or I'm a Republican, more in line with, this politician who happens to be a Democrat lines up with most of my ideals, and therefore I'm going to vote for them. But I don't consider myself a party person.
Yeah.
And I think that this is going to be this is going to start spreading up the age. Millennials are going to feel this. Gen Xers are going to feel this. Baby boomers will be dead by the time this reaches them.
Thank God.
But I mean, like, I think it basically came from Newsom recall election stuff.
Yep.
Where it didn't seem like Democrats were voting for Newsom the same way that they were voting for him in the governor's election. And literally the Gen Z group was basically saying, like, this isn't about Gavin Newsom.
Yeah.
This is about, I don't want the other guy to become governor. Like, so
literally everybody I talked to said that. I don't want a Republican. I don't want to turn into Texas.
I would vote for somebody else if they were available, but seeing as every other option is terrible, I will just say, like, no on the recall to Gavin Newsom. And this is not good for Democrats going forward, but it's particularly not good for Democrats right now because they can't get shit done and they can't move. Like, I think the biggest problem with Gen Z, millennials, people like us who have grown up in the internet age,
Xennials, that's what we are, Xennials.
Anybody millennial or younger, like, is like, we realize how quickly we could get things done if we need to, like, they came up with the COVID vaccine in less time than it took for them to pass the Build Back Better bill, like a vaccine which should have all this testing and did, and should have all this medical research going to it, which did, and have all these experts working round the clock to try and fix it. They got it out quick. Like, that's the fastest vaccine we've ever gotten out before. But a bill where you have the presidency, the House, and the Senate, and it takes you for goddamn ever to even get to the point where you're negotiating the finer points of the like, it's ridiculous that it takes so long.
Oh, forget about voting on something, just getting to the negotiation.
Like, imagine if you had an assistant, right? And you said, like, hey, I need you to make this Excel sheet of all of our clients and how many views they have a month.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can get all the information from these other 10 Excel sheets. I just need you to, like, collate them, as put them all together, merge them.
Yeah.
And then she looked back at you and she said, all right, so it's January right now. I guess somewhere in the middle of November I could have it for you. You'd be like, go fucking home. Like, what do we? I don't got time for that. She's like, yeah, but you see, I got a lot of other meetings and it's going to take time. And then I got to, like, go to committee with this thing. And then we got to vote on it there. And then I got to go to the full board to approve. It's like
you work in my office. It's strange.
Dude, fucking do something. Like, what are you doing all day? Like,
oh, I've said that so many times. Yeah, but and I think that listen, it's two different uses of the word politically active to talk about them not being active in politics, but feeling politically active. That's what it comes down to, because
like civilly engaged as opposed to politically. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what it comes. It's the graphic that always comes around in November of an election year where it's like, 1/4 of the people voted for one guy, 1/4 of the people voted for the other guy, and then half the people just didn't participate. And if you could get those people organized, if you could find a way to get to Gen Z, then things would be better. But nobody's really cracked it. So
I think most people just don't want to feel like you got to pick a side. Like,
yeah,
I mean, if I was still a Republican and I was like in on this whole Trump thing, like, I'd be pretty embarrassed as of January 6th, like, I'd be like,
yep.
What did I do?
Well, I mean, listen, Lindsey Graham, day of, was saying, you have guns, use them. Shoot. And then the next day was just like, these brave
within
patriots.
the hour, all of a sudden, they shot somebody.
Oh, well,
now Lindsey Graham's calling her a martyr. And
yeah. And
everyone should go check out the Washington Post infographic on January 6th.
The timeline?
I still can't even believe, like, we live in a world where, like, that happened and, like, all those people are still just, like, walking around like they didn't do like, yep. And we talked about it before, but all the donations came back. Like, I'm sure Andy Harris is getting his, $100,000 from Lockheed Martin right now.
Yeah.
In January, it was like, we at Lockheed Martin do not support the overthrow of the U.S. government, the violent overthrow of the U.S. government.
Well, it turns out the guy running against Andy Harris doesn't want any defense contractors. All right, listen, Andy Harris is a patriot, and anyone who says he's not is lying. But luckily, you say,
is he a coward? Yes. Is he a sniveling scumbag? Yes. Is he worse for America than he is better for America? Yes. Does he support more defense spending? Yes.
Is he our sniveling idiot coward?
Is he our sniveling idiot coward? Yes.
But
is he a real doctor? I don't know.
Probably not. You mentioned, like, we have to live in this world where luckily that's probably coming to an end. So speaking of which, this week, The UN climate conference is going on. Famously, this was held one time in Paris, and they came up with an agreement, which the United States is no longer a party to, officially, but we are going to be a party again as soon as the Senate can vote on it. But Biden is there, spreading Jen's COVID all around everyone and hopefully taking them all out. But
all over Scotland.
All over Scotland. And not the Scottish people. I just mean to the people at the conference who are the rich and powerful. But
minus China and Russia.
The people who count, yes.
Yeah.
Minus the two countries who really count.
Two of the top 5 polluters, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, at least Biden showed up, and U.S. is one of the top ones
Number
as well.
one,
but
with a rocket. But he showed up, and he is there physically. But we learned once again why my dad should not be president. When he was young, he might have had some good ideas. He's basically Jimmy Carter when he was young. Now, he is an old man who falls asleep in public places and rambles on and says nothing and is often confused and shouldn't be trusted with a motor vehicle, let alone a government. And it turns out Joe Biden's
nuclear launch codes.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I forgot about that. The fate of the entire world in the form of a football.
I mean, listen, I see a lot of people on the right taking every opportunity they can to dunk on Biden for something or another. And during his time at the Vatican, meeting the Pope, there was the poopy pants Biden that was going all over Twitter, where allegedly Joe Biden pooped his pants.
Which is funny. It is arguably independently funny.
It's funny. I don't care. Like
two old men meet together. They're both sitting in their dirty diapers. I love it. I'm here for it.
I mean, like, I don't know exactly what the proof of it was, but like, at the same time, like, Democrats were doing diaper Don at points during his presidency.
So this is a response to the pants are on backwards possibly, or they look weird and maybe he has a diaper on. This is their way of getting back in. There doesn't need to be evidence. It's just like, you said our guy was in diapers, now your guy is.
I think he changed his suit.
Yes.
I think that's what led to the whole, like, he changed his suit, so he must have pooped himself. Like, that's the only reason why you change your suit.
Again, arguably funny.
I wouldn't be changing my suit at the Vatican unless I pooped myself.
In 2002, when I was still believing in the compassionate conservatism of George W. Bush, I would have laughed at a joke about George W. Bush shitting his pants. I laughed when he got lost in the Chinese embassy and couldn't find which wall was the door. That was just independently funny. But now I think
there's funny things regardless of whether or not you support or don't support a politician. Like I'm sure I could find a lot of Republicans who thought it was funny when W got shoes thrown at him. Like, cause like you remember he had his whole like fucking ninja move where it's like, wow, you missed me.
The first one was just a natural dodge because he didn't see it till it was coming at him. He was just like, whomp. Oh, that's right. Matrix in this bitch. And then the guy wound up and gave him the double fake. And then threw it, and he was just like, shrunk. Yeah, all right, let's get that guy.
I like how my internet decided to allow me to freeze right at the perfect moment.
That's not quite the Matrix, Corey. If you stand still, it's not like the Matrix.
And then the other thing is Joe Biden maybe or maybe not falling asleep during the keynote at the G20.
Which, again, independently, it's boring as fuck. I'm sure he did fall asleep. I would have fallen asleep.
I fucking fall asleep at things.
Okay, well, that's not it. You and Joe Biden are in the same boat. Yeah, you're both basically.
No, I'm saying like I understand that people fall asleep at things. I'm pretty sure he knew what was being discussed. But at the same time, like, yeah, I get it where you're making fun of him. But like, how about this? It's just like because I'm not. I don't want Joe Biden to be president. I just didn't want Donald Trump to be president, and I was given 2 choices. And the last time I was given 2 choices, Trump won. So I'm not taking risks anymore. I'm just gonna vote for the guy, regardless of the fact that I don't think he's the best possible person to be president right now.
Yeah.
And also, maybe newsflash, perhaps we should stop having people in their 70s be president. Me and Robert Dog, like both of our dads are older. My dad's 75, and I think even if I asked him right now, and I said, hey, you could be president at any point during your life, what age would you want to be president at? Like, what's the ideal time to be president? He probably would say, like, oh, I don't know, 55, 60. I feel like that's when I was really hitting a stride and stuff like that.
halfway
Like,
to retirement, ready to slow down.
Nobody says like, hey, you could be a Major League Baseball player. What age would you like to be when you get called up to the majors? And says like, I don't know, like 49, 40, 50, something like that. I want to do a Juan Franco career where I just like, and of course the biggest thing of this all, like the like right wing trying to find something to pick on like get on Biden about, is the whole "Let's go Brandon" thing.
That's what I wanted to make sure we touch on that, because again, I think it all ties in. The poopy pants in the Vatican is diaper Don, and him falling asleep is the opposite of Trump not paying attention and then being asked a question and basically just parroting nothingness because he wasn't paying attention. I don't think Trump ever fell asleep. He also didn't do a lot of things in public, though. So arguably,
I mean, like,
his nap time
I don't think Trump is a very weird 70-year-old person.
Yeah,
like he's got unusual energy. And also, I don't think he sleeps at all. Like I think he's sort of known for just being like a guy who like is only
doing
asleep
cocaine
for like 3 or 4 hours a night.
Oh, okay.
Like,
yeah,
just doing whatever. But
I mean, and the thing is that he was so private all of the time.
I mean, he fell asleep during a tweet where he spelled out "covfefe."
That's right,
So,
yes. But I mean, he could just be napping all day. We don't know. He's like, oh, I only sleep 3 hours a night. Now I nap 12 hours during the waking day, but I sleep 3 hours a night. Yeah, okay.
I nap during Tucker and they wake me up for Sean Hannity.
But I mean, I think the comparison here is that, like, essentially they have been saying fake news and with no reason to say fake news. This story comes out and they're like, oh, see, fake news, because she knew that's not what they were saying, but she just went on with it because they didn't want to report what was actually being said. And that's probably true. Also, she works for a news network, a sports news network, and you can't put explicitives on the TV. So Baltimore, famously, a game that Corey and I were both at, said, was it "fuck the Steelers"? Is that what we were chanting? Fuck the Steelers?
No, it was "fuck the refs."
Fuck the refs. That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
And so loudly that it got on TV. And is it ABC that has Monday Night Football? Well, whoever it is.
It was ESPN.
ESPN.
Yeah.
They got a FCC. Yes, FCC fine for having explicitives be on the TV. And when they replayed it later that week, it bleeped out the crowd. It was like, beep the refs, beep the refs. And I'm like, all right. So same thing happened at this NASCAR event. The winner was a guy named Brandon, and he was being interviewed post-race, and the crowd just was chanting "fuck Joe Biden." And
real quick, are they all named Brandon? I don't know a lot about NASCAR. Is there a lot of Brandon?
Bubba's are common. Brandons are very common too. Surprisingly, Casey's. There's a couple of Casey's. Some Jeffs.
I mean, that's what the inspiration for Casey was Casey Kane. So
there you go. Yeah.
Don't tell Rachel.
Dale is a very popular. Basically, if you are picturing in your head what a secondary
boy.
No, I was gonna say a secondary character on King of the Hill. That is the guy. That guy's name is a name in NASCAR. But yeah, there's
Boomhauer. Got it.
Yes, yeah. And they talk like Boomhauer too. Some of them. This is real bad. But there's a lot of Brandons. But the crowd was cheering "fuck Joe Biden," and the interviewer said, "Oh, listen to that crowd behind you saying let's go Brandon." And it's like, okay, clearly that's not what they're saying. But I see you, girl, because you're like, oh, the FCC is going to give us a fine, but I'm going to say, no, you're mishearing it. You're hearing what you want to hear. They were saying let's go Brandon. Nah, they weren't.
I was there. I'm pretty sure I heard correctly what they.
But the bigger deal isn't that. It's that it's been embraced as an okay sign, or as a gesture amongst people to be like, we're on the same team.
This is the G-rated version of "fuck Joe Biden."
Yes.
And like just showing up all over the place, like fucking, was it a Southwest Airlines
Southwest flight
that the pilot said it when they landed?
Listen, New York to Albuquerque is always a very conservative crowd. The pilot knew exactly what he was doing. When I think of two towns that are very conservative, I think of New York and Albuquerque, New Mexico.
I understand you're a Republican and you don't like the Democratic president.
Yeah.
Like I get it. Like I'm not dumb, but at the same time, like, I don't know, Joe Biden just seems like the most non-consequential person. Like, it's not like
Millard Fillmore. That's who he is.
Yeah, I
Or
mean,
Millard,
like
Millard
basically
Fillmore.
Millard Fillmore. He's basically the modern Millard Fillmore. He means nothing. Like his place in history, other than the fact that he is involved in COVID, I think is the only thing that really like substantially cements his place in history as like a president that will be discussed at some point. But I'm
The
like,
thing is, though, I bet you that Millard Fillmore had something because he was elected because there was so much controversy about the three previous presidents. They were very corrupt. So they elected a guy who would not be corrupt. And then there had to be something that happened that for like 20 years, they were like, well, at least Millard Fillmore's not in charge the way he botched the, smallpox.
Teapot Dome
Yeah,
scandal.
whatever it is. And so I think that right now we're like, oh, Joe Biden will be remembered for COVID, but eventually it'll be like, hey, yeah, sometimes we elect presidents because the other guys were just terrible. And we just needed a palate cleanser. We needed a glass of warm milk or water in between the radical people who are trying to tear the country apart.
Right. I mean, like I'm happy that Joe Biden is president in as much as Donald Trump is not.
Yes.
That's basically as happy as I am about it. But
and
I'm not going to
most of the people Joe Biden was competing against are now working in the administration. So that's also good. Most of them are terrible people, but what are you going to do?
Or, went back to the Senate or wherever they came, if they had a job that they couldn't go back to. I don't know. Like, sure. I guess like if you feel so fiery about it that you're gonna fuck Joe Biden, but it's like I don't know. Like I think of Joe Biden a lot. Like I think of like H.W. Bush. Like like
H.W. Bush was that though. He was the
Reagan,
the end of the Cold War. He was a transition.
Reagan was a lot for people to deal with at the time. And then, George H.W. Bush was the warm milk.
Yep.
And then you got Clinton, which felt like this, like, hey, the rock and roll president, this brand new generation, these kids and their rock mute, And then there was W, which was like one thing at the beginning and another thing by the end.
The chameleon
and then Obama.
president,
But I mean, like all these people are going to be remembered in history somewhere. H.W. Bush is probably not going to be remembered other than for like singular events like Iraq, like invading Kuwait.
Dan Quayle
take on Iraq.
Dan Quayle in the re-election campaign, stating emphatically no new taxes and then raising taxes a year into being president. The two conversations I have had in the last 6 months about HW have been those two things. One, Dan Quayle got canceled for less than this, and HW promised no new taxes and then raised taxes. It's just something you do. So
I don't know. I'm just fine with Joe Biden just being this placeholder person.
100%.
On
as
the
long
way
as
to
he's not holding the place for Kamala.
Well, I mean, like I don't think Kamala can win.
No.
I don't think there's what worries me is that Trump is definitely going to run again, and Joe is going to say to himself, "No, an 81-year-old Joe Biden is just the man to beat. Like I can't give up this seat. I have to beat Trump again."
Yeah.
And then we just run it back one more time with Biden.
Oh my God.
And again, people are just like, please, will this national nightmare just end?
I feel
and then
like
eventually
there's a chance we could do like an Ehrlich, O'Malley Ehrlich situation where they just trade off on 4-year terms and the country is worse for it.
I mean, I know the Republicans are probably going to try and do everything they can to get Trump back in there. But I really do. I just hope that so many people are not burned by the Democratic Party and Joe Biden that they decide to like set it out. Like if all Joe does in 4 years is bring back better, then he's going to have a lot of trouble when he goes to run for president again. That's all I'm saying. Like he's like, what is he going to say? He did. Like.
Well, let's try to wrap it up on a happy note, shall we? And of course,
you want me to just yell at cheaters for a while?
Yeah, sure. Well, let's keep it to a short period. But yes, you can yell at cheaters. And of course, if we're talking about cheaters, and it's not about my past with women, we're talking sports ball. So Corey,
Listen, it could have been Joey Greco too.
Yeah,
I have a fondness in my heart for Cheaters, the TV show.
especially a guy who's willing to get shot for ratings on his show. That's fucking money.
I love I love the crew on Cheaters. Nobody is more committed to getting the shot than the only reality crew I think I put in higher esteem is some of the people from Hoarders.
Yes. Oh my god.
Like we talked about the one shot where like there was like a toilet with poop, like literally building a mountain out of the top, and then some brave cameraman got in between, had the poop in the foreground and the family hugging and crying in the background. I'm like, brother, you are committed to this job. You are all about it. Fucking laying down in garbage and poop to get your shot.
Well, listen, speaking of committed, I don't know if you know this, Corey, but America's game, as American as apple pie. Baseball is a tradition in America. And, October leads us to the World Series, and everyone is stoked about the World Series this year. It's happening right now, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
It's happening.
Yes, everyone's excited about the World Series.
I don't think anyone's excited for the World Series. Like, I think there's a lot of people who are jumping on the Braves bandwagon to just root against the Astros, who are clearly. I never thought I would get to the point in my life where I would say that there's a team that has passed the Yankees as the most hated by every fan base across the nation, but the Astros have done it. And also, it's funny to watch people talk about the Braves. Like, I'm supporting the Braves, but also, like, there's a lot of like liberal pockets who like support the Braves, and they're doing this like, I support the Braves, but I don't support their racist nickname and the chop and the Indian chants all throughout the proceedings and blah blah blah. Like, I get in a lot of that too, which I could do without, because yes, we all wish they weren't the Atlanta Braves, but there's very little we can do about that.
And listen, Trump is doing the chop, so you can guarantee I'm not on board with the chop. But also fuck Houston, and I'm not watching it, so I don't care.
Yeah, I don't usually miss World Series. I usually watch as many of the games as I can. And in years where it's two teams that I don't really care about, I find some team to root for, and for a series at the very least, I root for them and see if they can win.
Hey, they beat the Yankees. They're okay in my book.
Yeah, this World Series, I'm not doing that, and it's not that I don't still like baseball, and I couldn't find myself rooting for the Atlanta Braves for a little while. It's just that I don't want baseball to even think that I'm supporting this by watching it, because the Houston Astros have gotten away with murder. They are the O.J. Simpson of Major League Baseball at the moment, and I can't support it. Like it hurts me deep inside. Like, and every team has something that it's them against the world on. The example I made earlier of Barry Bonds, like. Yeah. Every single baseball fan, except for San Francisco Giant fans, are convinced that Barry Bonds has taken steroids to break home run records. That he's a little man, like little inside, like his soul is little, and he needs to be loved, but he also doesn't want people to tell them that they love him. He wants the admiration from afar, but he also needs to be aware of it. So he needs to do things like hit a lot of home runs to get the love that he will reject.
Listen, he never tested positive on a test, and there are natural changes a body goes through, like gaining 900 pounds of muscle in an off season.
Listen, it's very usual for a 38-year-old man to grow 4 shoe sizes in a summer. It's not unusual that happens. A lot of people go from 8 to 13 in one summer when they're 37.
Hey, I'm about to have my 38-year summer, so we'll see. God, I'm hoping for the shoe size increase. That'd be great.
If I just turn into Barry Bonds all of a sudden out of nowhere?
If I could turn bobbleheaded and like my head's just
all this
huge.
Healthy living and Bibles gets me that Barry Bonds lifestyle I've been hoping for.
I feel like you're living more like the real Barry Bonds, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, like, talk to a Giants fan about Barry Bonds, and they have no sense of humor about it. He's the greatest Giant who ever lived, maybe behind Mays, arguably, maybe behind Mays.
They don't know who Mays is, most of them.
He's also the home run king. He's the home run king forever, and there's no asterisk, so clearly it stands. He's the one. And then if you ask any other fan base in baseball, it's still Hank Aaron. It's Hank Aaron until somebody does it at least
Without
somewhat
steroids?
clean.
Yeah.
Like, and until like a Christian Yelich type does it, and then they're gonna be okay with it.
What, are you not going to accuse him of doing steroids? Look at him. No.
I would have said this about Ryan Braun before, but then he did steroids, so he would have been my go-to example before. But
so
needless to say,
in the end, yeah, Houston, even if they win, they don't really win. I mean, everyone's looking at this and just saying they suck. So,
I mean, to me, the problem is that like nobody who was really responsible for what happened was seriously punished in any kind of meaningful way.
Yeah.
The general manager of the Astros is going to be out of baseball for the rest of his life.
Yep.
Jim Crane, the owner, had to pay like $1 million fine or something like that, which was the maximum allowable, which is pocket change for getting a World Series. Yeah.
Yep.
Oil magnate Jim Crane. They had to give up a draft pick, I think, maybe.
And money.
And baseball is kind of meaningless.
But
and then a couple people got suspended.
Well, they give up money on international stuff, and now, with whatever island popping up, they're not going to be able to invest there.
Yeah, I mean, it was all a slap on the wrist, though. Yeah. And none of the players faced any kind of punishment, regardless of the fact that clearly they were the ones who benefited the most from the whole scheme.
And several of them are playing in this World Series, right? They're still there.
Yeah, still on the team. Alex Bregman and Carlos Correa and Jose Altuve, they're all still there. They're all still, they get caught red-handed. They show up. They don't apologize. They don't say, "Oh, I'm so sorry for what I did, and how am I ever going to make it up to baseball?" It's just like, I didn't do shit. Like, and baseball isn't telling them like, "Hey, go out and properly apologize." They're just saying, "Do whatever you want. Do whatever makes you sleep well at night." And a lot of the guys are just like, "Oh, I ain't fucking apologizing. I didn't do shit," because you convince yourself you didn't do shit. And then all the Astros fans say like, "Oh, my team didn't do shit," and everyone's booing us for no good reason. And other teams have cheated, and then they point to random examples of like ancillary.
1919 Black Sox, huh?
The Red Sox cheated. They had Apple Watches. Yeah, for one series. Like their cheating was so blatant that it was immediately caught and then stopped. Like they didn't win the World Series the same year that they did it. Like that's dumb.
Also, even if they had, again, it was one series during the season, not YouTubers saying, "Here's every pitch with a trash can being hit."
But also the other thing is like the Astro fans will start saying things like, well, every team cheats in some sort of way. And I'm just like, well, clearly there's different levels of this, because if the Orioles are cheating, they're not doing it well enough. Like,
I'm the only non-hypocrite in the world, and the Orioles are the only honest team in baseball.
I mean, maybe Brandon Hyde is shouting out what the next pitch is going to be from the dugout, and I just haven't been aware of it. But I mean, like, something tells me that if they are cheating, their system is not as complex as what the Astros were doing. And like,
you got a lefty up and bad. He's like, slider, what? Strike.
They banned sticky stuff this year during the baseball season, and then all of a sudden, a lot of pitchers who were doing tremendously well became mortal overnight. And you go like, maybe there's something to this.
Strange.
You know who didn't go from amazing to awful all of a sudden? The Orioles stayed awful, never stopped being awful. But I can't, like, really honestly, I think every single one of those players should have been suspended for various amounts of time based off of how much involved they were in the system.
But we don't know. We don't know anything about anyone who was involved.
You know what they did before? They just released a report. they got a former senator. I don't remember his first name, but Mitchell was the last name.
Yeah.
Oh, George Mitchell. Right? George Mitchell. Yeah. They got George Mitchell to create a report where he said that, 200 players in baseball did steroids or performance enhancing drugs. It was the randomest 200 people you could possibly find. It didn't include anybody, like hardly any name of somebody that you actually speculated used steroids.
People who might sue him. Yes. Yeah, that's right.
It was just like Brian Roberts and Andy Pettit and people like that. And you're just like, oh, okay. I feel like there's 15 players on the Orioles who are more likely to do steroids than Brian Roberts and probably did. but they just didn't happen to get caught.
Well, no. He called that guy to get stuff to help recover from an injury, likely one of them across many years, and then he was on the list. He was a contact in the phone. Meanwhile, like Mark McGuire is in there as two money bag emojis side by side, and he's just like, well, I don't see McGuire on this list. I don't know what to tell you.
I mean, I feel like at the very least, if you would have just like based your information off of the publicly available data that was out there that fans provided themselves, you could have figured out like who should have been, Springer should have been suspended. Correa should have been suspended. Altuve should have been suspended. Bregman should have been suspended. Maybe Altuve gets suspended less because it's clear that he didn't benefit from the trash cans as much as the rest of them.
Maybe good argument. I'm bad at cheating, so you shouldn't punish me.
Well, I mean, like apparently the story with him was he said that it actually distracted him.
Yeah.
Like he would rather just figure it out on his own. He didn't want somebody to tell him what was happening. Like other players have been like that in the past. I think Tony Gwynn said, "Don't tell me what's coming. I'd rather just figure it out."
Yeah.
So, I think it would have been easy enough to suspend a half of the team for various lengths of time, and then strip them of the World Series, and then we can move on. And then I would be watching this World Series because they faced some sort of punishment and they went through it. None of them. Carlos Correa is going to sign a humongous contract from some team in the offseason. And the fans are going to get him, and they're just going to be like, well, he proved because he made it to another World Series where they weren't cheating that he's still a good player and deserves to be paid $300 million a season.
Weren't cheating that we know about, okay?
Well, yeah, I mean, clearly. I would not support the Orioles signing Carlos Correa. I don't think I have to worry about it. I don't think they're going to do it this year, but I would not be okay with that. And I don't know. I'm just not okay with the fact that they just get to coast and not face any kind of punishment. And I'm not going to watch the World Series. Nor does anyone care. But
yeah,
I think that baseball fucked up real bad. At the very least, they should have done a USC situation where it's like, we took away the bowl games. We took away your Heisman. Pete Carroll never had a win at USC, according to us. Like, that's how it works. Like, because then you look at the vacated Rose Bowl at some point, and you're just like, wait, who won the Rose Bowl in 2004?
Oh, yeah.
And it's just like, oh, well, USC was cheating, so they won, but it was vacated, so that's why it says vacated now. Like, it would have been an easy enough thing to do, but no, it doesn't matter. Let's act like nothing happened. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. All that stuff.
Well, on that bright note, this has been Sports Ball. To be fair, it's not
what is an actual... What's that?
To be fair, it's not like anybody was watching it anyway, so,
I just went over to YouTube just to make sure there wasn't some Astros fan who found his way into the comments to be like, hey, fuck you. Do you know how hard it is to be a professional baseball player? Do you think cheating really makes that big of a difference?
And no, I don't, but I bet if I cheated, it'd be easier. I'm just saying.
It'd be easier if I cheated, for sure. It's also easier because of cheating.
What's that?
TheAnthem.com. Go to TheAnthem.com. The Anthem on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and the listener line 443-219-7595.
What's that number again?
443-219-7595. You can't currently find me at my website, CoreyBakerFilmmaker.com. I am working on it. My whole system with having Muse is now completely unworkable. So I have to find a new website builder, and I don't find any of them to my satisfaction. So
Muse is not working at all?
I mean, it works, but it also it doesn't work half the time for me. I can't upload my site anymore.
Yeah.
And you call Adobe and they're like, yeah, I can't help you. So anywho, I'm trying Squarespace right now to try and rebuild the site, but it's not everything I want it to be. And I'm hoping that I find some version of a website builder that I really like, and I'll have that back up soon. But in the meantime, Facebook.com/CoreyBakerFilm, @LegendsCB5 on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok.
Just as absent there as he is on his YouTube channel and the website as a whole. So go ahead and feel free to check that out for his updates from 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. Anyway, you can find me at Robert N. Cheek on all social networks. I I realized I have like a lot of anniversaries that I made videos for like in advance and then didn't post them. So I think what I'm going to do is at the end of the year, I'm just going to post like 4 or 5 videos a day for like the last 3 days and just be like, here you go. This is all the stuff I never posted all year. What was that? What was that sigh? Sorry, I don't see you anymore. What was the sigh?
No, I was just marveling that I have a video in the Corey Baker filmmaker YouTube like unlisted thing where I'm pretty sure I started off with I was talking about ADHD and I'm pretty sure I started off with like, yeah, last month was mental health awareness month, but you know, ADHD, and that was the joke. But that was actually like 6 months ago, so I couldn't even post it if I wanted to because it's like,
fuck it, just post it. Who cares? Anyway,
no,
you can find more of me on social media. Also, robertandcheek.com. We're finally all stuff I'm working on, and probably more frequent than anything else. You can find me streaming on twitch.tv/robertandcheek, where I stream Call of Duty, sometimes Splitgate, but getting very exciting because Vanguard comes out this Friday, and I've reached a new low, Corey, in my personal life. I'm taking a day off work to play Vanguard the first day it's available. So I'll be streaming all day on Friday. There's actually just 2 meetings I don't want to be a part of. And I was just like, well, here's a good excuse to not be at work on that day. So great.
Taking a mental health day.
Basically, yeah. So. I am taking a personal day because we're adults and now have personal days, apparently. But yeah, so I'll be streaming all day. Twitch.tv/robertandcheek. You can come play with me. on Kukurious. That's ANKOUKERYS. On Activision if you want to come join me for some games. Or Robert and Chico on PlayStation 2. I actually had someone add me on PlayStation. I don't know who they are, but come play, I guess. So, yeah.
Splendiferous. All right, well, I think we've done good here today.
We've done something. I don't know if it's good. But
the first little bit of the show and then nothing after.
As Baby Watch goes into its 2nd week, as you're listening to this, we'll keep you updated live. Well, I will, because Corey doesn't get on social media. But as always, you're listening
I'll do it for this one.
As always, you're listening to the OD Anthem podcast, part of the OD Anthem Digital Network. For Corey, this is Rob. Have a great week, everybody.
It'll be like 2 weeks later, and I'll do an Instagram post. It's like, oh, by the way, I had a baby.
And you're going to be holding...
Meantime, I've been sharing other people's stories and not commenting on them.
Holding up a picture of an 18-inch, 45-pound baby. Just like, how old is that thing? No, that's a picture from the day
5 years from now. Woo, woo. By the way, I had a baby, now going to school.